All right, welcome to the Entrepreneur Insider Secrets podcast. Excited to be with you again and spending some more time with you. Today, we're going to be talking about leveraging podcasts to expand your reach. Now, every business needs followers. They need an audience of people who are interested in what they're doing, right? Because it's another one of those, if nobody knows you're out there, it's hard to get customers. If nobody knows who you are, what you're about, what kind of things that you could do for them, it's hard to get any traction. And usually what we talk about in this front when we're talking about these things is, well, then you need to go on social media, right? You need to go on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it may be. And you need to be putting out content. You need to be talking about things. You need to be putting out different things and sharing information on those social media platforms. But those are the things that get all the attention. Those are the things that always get all of the comments, all of the, like that's the strategy. That's what you need to do. Today, we're going to be talking about a different strategy. We're going to be talking about podcasts and how podcasts can be an incredibly powerful tool to build a really strong following. And I want to kind of lay out why that is and why podcasts are such a powerful tool and why it's something that maybe you should think about or maybe you should consider. Podcasts are something that obviously in recent years have become extraordinarily powerful. We saw this even in the last presidential election where presidential candidates were going on podcasts because they were doing that even more than going on traditional TV and media. And they were getting interviewed by all these podcast hosts who had large followings. And it was an incredibly effective strategy for them to do that. And the reason is that podcast listeners tend to be very, very loyal. And they really tend to trust the person that they're listening to. Now, if you think about it, if you are a podcast listener, if you're a person that listens to other people on podcasts, do you have like 100 different podcasts that you listen to? More often than not, no. I would argue there's probably very, very few people that have more than a handful of podcasts they listen to. What ends up happening is, social media is like the quick hit, right? It's the 5-10 second read the meme, move on, and it's just the quick hit, and then you're bombarded with hundreds of other stimuli from other people from other places. Podcasts are kind of like the opposite to that. They're the opposite method. They're the opposite path to doing all that. They are you don't follow 25 of them, you may follow 5, and those voices become very important to you. You learn over the course of time to trust those voices. You learn over the course of time to really take to heart what those people are saying. And it becomes this almost relationship that you form with the people who are doing the podcast. And I heard somebody say it this way once, and it really made me think about it, is that when someone is listening to the podcast, it's just you and them. They have you dialed in with their headphones. You're in their ears, and it's just the two of you talking. Now, granted, they're not really talking back to you, obviously, but the point of it is like you're just having this conversation, and they're just listening to you. They're listening to you talk. They're listening to you share. They're listening to you put out information that they consider to be valuable or interesting. And so there's this relationship to it. And it's not a 10-second hit and gone. It's not a boom, here it is. And now, I'm off to the next thing. Now I'm reading somebody else's meme, or I'm reading somebody else's update, or I'm watching another little short video clip. It's not this hyperactive, schizophrenic way of doing things. It is a long-term listen. When you listen to a podcast, I have several that I listen to, not like, again, about 5 is about what I can handle following. And I rotate between them from time to time, depending on what I'm in the mood to listen to. But I'll listen to a podcast for an hour straight. If it's a good podcast, I will sit there and like while I'm in the gym working out, I'll put my headphones on, spend the entire hour listening to a long podcast. And you think about the power of that. You think about the connection that forms with your listeners, as opposed to, I saw 200 memes on Facebook today. Like, okay, remember the ones that, remember all the memes that you saw. You probably could only even remember a handful. All the rest are just like gone. They're here and they're gone, and you don't even think about them anymore. But a podcast builds a relationship. A podcast creates connection. And especially if you are in the business of wanting to be a coach or be something like that, it can be an incredibly powerful way for people to learn to get to know you. Because again, anyone on social media can put out a post very quickly and very succinctly, and you don't really know that person. Everyone, that's one of the fallacies of social media, is that people can put themselves out there in photos standing in front of expensive cars. And one of the things I know, as being in the internet marketing space, that guys used to do this all the time, and it drove me insane. They would go out and rent a car for the day. They would go rent a Bentley. They would go rent a Lamborghini. They go rent some really exotic car that is ultimately expensive. Go to a location that was really, really beautiful and get their pictures taken in front of and with the car, trying to give the impression that that was their car and this is their house, or this is where they work, and this is the level of success that they achieved, which in reality, none of it was true. It wasn't their car. They just rented it for the day. And they went and to some location that didn't belong to them either. And they're just taking pictures and trying to make themselves look better than they are. You see, that doesn't happen in the world of podcasts, because you can't fake it for an hour like that in the same way. You are not sitting there just creating this schizophrenic set of images where you're trying to paint a picture, and then behind the scenes, the truth is you're just a total mess, which is true for a significant percentage of those people. We all know the people who are out there putting out all those social media images. They may put one picture, but they threw 100 away that didn't get posted because they weren't the right image. And they're there all day just taking pictures of themselves, doing all these little things to try and create an image, try and put themselves out there. And then when you actually get to meet them or you get to hear from them, you're like, oh, that's a big disappointment. Why? Because now you're actually seeing the real them. And the perfection that they put out isn't real. And so that's why podcasts can be so valuable, why they can be so integral to what you're doing. And not only that, is they can really position you as a thought leader in your space, because you get time. You get time to expound upon your thoughts. You get time to share your expertise. You get time to share the stories of things that you've gone through, the experiences that you've had, the things that you've been able to do. And all sharing of those stories, the insights, the strategies builds credibility. It builds this like, wow, this person actually knows what they're talking about. They're really interesting. And especially if you're a coach, like, wow, you could actually help me. You could actually truly be the person that helps me. You could sit here and actually make a difference in my life. Because I hear you and I understand you and I feel connected to you. And I've learned that your experiences are right in line with the things that I'm trying to achieve in my life. And, this is powerful stuff. And I remember for many years, there was years where I really listened hard to Russell Brunson's podcast. And because in my early days of building an online business and learning all the skills, he was tremendously helpful to me in learning the skills. He was very, very knowledgeable. He knew his stuff, and I learned a ton. But it didn't stop there. I became a user of ClickFunnels. I went to ClickFunnels, the Funnel Hacking Live conference multiple times. I believe I went to that 3 times. I bought many, many courses from them. Why? Because I had that sense of trust. Because I had that sense of, this is a person that knows what they're talking about. This is a person who's an expert in this space. And I like how they teach. I like how they explain. I like a lot of the things that I learned from them, and I feel like I have a relationship with them, even though they don't know me at all. I have a relationship with them because I listen to them, I hear them, I know them. And as a result, I feel like I can trust them. And so I'm much more likely to buy their stuff. You see how, even though it's not the same, like you can get sheer volume of hits on social media, you can get a lot more hits individually on social media than you will usually on a podcast episode. But the hits on a podcast episode are much longer and deeper and more meaningful. That's when people are really dialed in. They're really like, I want to learn from this person. I want to know what they have to say, because what they're saying is valuable to me. What they're saying is important. What they're saying is useful to my own journey. I'm learning. I'm growing. I'm becoming better. I'm becoming the person I want to be because I'm learning from them and because they're teaching me things. And not to even mention that, social media is so transient. It's so, today it's here and tomorrow it's gone. Even Facebook now has started deleting all of the videos that you have on your Facebook page that are 30 days or older. So they're not even there anymore. They're just getting rid of them. So if you wanted to go back and listen, if somebody did a video, let's say 6 weeks ago, and you're like, oh, I want to go back and listen to that video. Sorry, Charlie. Even if you saved it, it's not there. They've deleted it. It's gone. When you go and do different things on Instagram, on Reels, they're 24 hours later, bye-bye. It's not there at all. If you didn't catch it, you missed it. It's gone. And the thing with the podcast is these episodes sit out there for perpetuity. You could literally find a podcast that's 3, 4, 5, 6 years old and go and download all the episodes. And if you wanted to, if you really wanted to spend the time, you could start at episode 1 and just start listening. And you would have hours upon hours. Those episodes stay. Those episodes continue, and they can continue to be an asset and a resource because they don't get deleted in 30 days. They continue to be out there for you to be able to promote, for you to be able to talk about, for you to be able to put out there. So it's an amazing tool, and it's one that does not get enough attention. I'm going to be honest. It does not get enough attention. And again, for some of us, some people are very much the social media people. They love putting out little quick hits. Put this picture up, put that meme up, put that quote up, put that image. Oh, I can do a 5-minute video. Boom, here we go. And they love that. But for others of us who are not that way, we would rather do long form content. We would rather do a podcast. We would rather do something that allows us to be able to talk our way through a process and explain things that we know and want to share with our audience. And that becomes much more valuable to us. And then we develop a different type of listener. We get different types of followers because we're not the hit and run type people. We're the stay and continue to develop the relationship type people. So how do you go about this? Let's transition a little bit to, if you're interested in learning more about doing this, how do you go about it, doing your own podcast? Well, first of all, you could host your own podcast. In the world that we live in, it's really not that hard anymore. It's not that difficult. Honestly, what I do is what I'm doing right now is I go live on StreamYard on this episode. I go and get on StreamYard and I'm doing a Facebook Live, and I show up on YouTube and Instagram, and we're broadcasting across multiple streams. And I do that, and then we download the audio from it and we put it on the podcast. And we just use a service. There's multiple ones out there, Simplecast, and it puts the podcast out there on all sorts of different platforms. So the people are using, iTunes, or they're using all these different platforms, they can access the podcast. And we have people from all over the world that listen in. It's always interesting to hear, like, there are people from all these different countries listening into the podcast. You're like going, wow, that's wild to think that people from all these countries have listened in, but it's true. So the main things that I would think about if you're going to do your own podcast is you want to make sure that you're speaking to your niche. That's something that we've talked about a lot in past episodes. you want to speak to a niche. You want to talk to your specific audience. Don't try and get too broad. Don't do I'm going to try to appeal to as many people as possible. You don't want to try and appeal to this. I want to be as general as I can. Well, then that's just not it. I mean, if people want the general news, then they'll just go and watch the nightly news and get a broad analysis and summary of what happened in the world. No, they want to hear, if they're dialing into a podcast, it's because they want to learn something about a specific topic. So you need to make sure that you're very clear on choosing your niche, and then choose a name that very much is dialed into something that makes sense for you. And so that people, when they see it, they're like, oh, your target audience will see that name, read the description and go, oh, that looks like it could be for me. That looks like it's something that I would be interested in. And so they go and they like, oh, I want to check this one out because that looks like it's of interest to me. And then, you maintain a consistent schedule. And this is something that I think a lot of people have trouble with, is that they will go out and they will, I'll start a podcast and I'll be really good at it for about 3 or 4 weeks. Oh, now I'm tired, I'm busy, and I'm bored. I don't want to do it anymore. And then they quit for 6 months, and then they pick it up again. Oh, I'm going to go back to doing the podcast. Well, talk about destroying your audience. Talk about destroying your ability to build your reach, to be able to build your podcast. Is just that. If people know that you disappear for extended periods of time, they know they can't count on you for information. They know they can't count on you for knowledge, for insights, for different things. And so they stop looking for you, because you come and you go, and then you disappear again for a while, and people are like, I don't know what's going on with this person. They must not be serious about staying with this topic, about actually doing it. So whether it be 1 time a week, twice a week, whatever it may be that works for you, just be consistent. Just be steady and just do it. Pick a pace that works for you. Pick a pace that is consistent for you. It doesn't have to be a lot. You can do once every 2 weeks if that works for you, but just be consistent. So you're consistently and regularly putting out something, and you can develop your own podcast. And another thing that you could do is be a guest on other people's podcasts. Other people who already have an existing audience, people who have an audience of people who already, it's a good sized audience, and this is really going to be in your target niche. This is really going to give you good reach. It's really going to give you a lot of good exposure, because they have an established base of people who listen, and then you could be a guest and be on there and talk to them and to their audience, and you don't even have to do the work of hosting it. You don't even have to do the work of setting it up. You don't have to do the work of creating a topic to talk about. And when I do mine, honestly, I pick a bunch of topics that I want to talk about, and I even use Chat GPT to help me create outlines for what I'm going to say when I'm on there. And then I edit them. I use Chat GPT. I mean, that's a very fast way for me to outline 10 podcasts pretty quickly. I will go down with 10 ideas. I want to talk about these 10 topics. And then I'll just put it into Chat GPT, give me a 3-point outline for a 30-minute talk on this topic. And it'll do a nice job. And then I will go in and I wouldn't really say that. I would say this. But I have the outline, boom, boom, boom. And now I have an outline to talk through from all my podcast episodes. It gives me a structure, so I don't have to just show up and just go, what am I going to say? Now, I started talking about this, and now I'm talking about a completely different subject. No, it keeps me on task. It keeps me focused. It keeps me going, because I know the direction that I'm going. I know what I need to talk about next. So it's much more valuable, much more easy to manage. And then again, so that that's great for doing your own, but if you're on someone else's, obviously you can have an audience that they're going to want to talk to you about, and they're going to want to say, well, what can you talk to us about? Well, you can already have a bunch of different topics, because you've already spoken a lot about a number of different topics. And I almost recommend doing it yourself for a few times to get practice, to get good at it. And then when you go on other people's podcasts, it can be very, very effective because you've done this for a while. You know your subject, what you're talking about, and you could quickly talk through any number of things because you're very, very now adept at what it is that you're doing. And so that's a great way of doing it. And I know there are services out there that you can even subscribe to get matched as a guest on other people's podcasts. And I know someone that does this. They use this service called Podmatch, and they have used it. They do like 4 guest appearances a month on other people's podcasts. And they built a nice little, and they don't even have their own podcast. They're just being a guest on everyone else's. And they're getting on there and they're having a great experience going out and getting on people's podcasts, getting help, getting exposure, because other people have, and some of these people have pretty good podcasts. They have pretty good, several thousand listeners for every episode. And you get on there and all of a sudden it's like getting invited onto someone's stage to speak on stage, except it's not a physical stage, it's a virtual stage. And you can now be honored as an expert. You're being honored by that podcast host says, hey, I'm bringing in an expert on the subject of, this, and they're here to talk to us, and they're going to share their insight and wisdom and knowledge. And all of a sudden, these people are going, wow, this, all these people are now getting exposed to your thoughts, to your ideas, to the wisdom that you have. And they're going, wow, this is amazing. And I want to learn more from this person. So what do? They go to check out your website. They go to check out your materials. They go and find out more about you. And if you, go on your podcast, you can then go and have a lead magnet. Say, yeah, hey, I wanted to offer all the listeners to the podcast a free gift. And if you go to, this website, you can download a free guide, or you can download a free resource, or watch a training on this that I did. It's recorded and it's on the site for you to watch. And you can get lots of names and emails, and you can start building your audience, and you can start using this to leverage yourself into a situation. And I think the Podmatch is like $32 a month or something like that to be a guest on other people's podcasts. And so not cheap, but it's not expensive either in terms of your business to be able to, it's not free, but it's not that bad. You can go out and you can be a guest on other people's podcasts, and you can just start getting exposed to them. Again, people talk about, well, if I could just speak on other, and get invited to speak to all these places, then I'd be able to get other people to, promote me, and I'd be able to get clients because I'd be able to get in front of these audiences who could hear what I could do for them, and they'd be interested in working for me. Well, you can do that just the same on podcasts. You don't have to travel. You don't have to go anywhere else in the world. You can do it from the comfort of your own home, but just get yourself aligned with being on podcasts that match your audience, that you are going to be able to present to them in such a way that they're going to be like, wow, this person's amazing. I need to learn more about them. And then at the end of the podcast, just give a simple call to action where if they are interested in working with you, here's what you can do next. And you can start to develop relationships with people. You can start to develop connections with people. And again, like I said, I have this client who's doing this, and they're doing like almost one a week. And they're getting lots of opportunities. They're getting lots of exposure because they're getting out there and they're getting their name in front of people, and people are hearing them talk. They're hearing them speak, and they're going, wow, this person's amazing. They know their stuff. And so it becomes an amazing way for you to utilize your expertise. And you can go on and just become a great resource for people, because the podcast hosts are excited because they brought on a great person to share wisdom and insights with their audience. And their audience is like, wow, this is a new person. This is someone with new insights, new perspectives, new stories, new strategies. We'll enjoy listening to them. And you're like, great, I'm going to get exposed to a whole bunch of new people that I get to learn about me and what I can do for them. So it's a win-win. It's a win for everyone. And again, you can utilize this to get more email subscribers, to get more people on your list. If people are interested in working with you, go here and complete this form, and we'd be happy to talk to you and have a conversation about, what it would look like to work together. And you can do all those types of things, and it's a great way to promote your business. So the last thing I want to kind of talk about is that you can also multi-purpose your podcast content. Now, by that I mean, how do you multi-purpose? Well, I know Jim Edwards was the king of doing this. He would go out and he would do a video and turn that video into memes, turn it into a blog post, turn it into Instagram reels. He would turn it into all this stuff, and he would have somebody work for him who would literally take clips of the things that he said. They would go through his little videos and they would take clips of everything and then turn, like, he said something insightful. All right, let's make a meme about that. Bam. And now you can share that meme on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, Twitter. You can do little video clips, put them on YouTube. You can put them on Facebook, on Instagram. There's all these different things that you can do that will repurpose the things that you already said, that you already did, turn them into blog articles, email content, put little clips of it on your website. If you little things that you said, they're like, oh, that was really a good thing to say. It was really insightful. It was really good. That was really helpful. That would be a good thing to kind of be known for, to be able to say. And you could just use it as social media content. You could just start saying, rather than creating something brand new, go through what you already said. Go and take the recording of your podcast, put it in something like Otter AI and create a transcription, or use, one of the AI services out there and have it transcribe your audio into text, and then just pull clips out of it and create little posts out of it and create things. And you don't even have to go on Canva, take the little quote that you said, go on Canva, bam, you have a meme. And it could be very, very quick, very, very easy to do. And that, again, takes that one piece of content and expands it and uses it to be multi-purposed on a number of different platforms without having to create something new, without having to create a new outline, a new talk, or a new anything. You just use it and keep multi-purposing it. And it's an incredibly powerful way of taking one piece of content and turning it into something that is multifaceted. And so then when you do that, you can include little offers. If you have you have a handful of little ebooks that you can offer, that you can put out. If you have a handful of lead magnets, little videos that they can come watch, what you're going to do is you can say, hey, if you want to get this free resource, I have it for you. Just go to this website address and you can download it. And in the meantime, you're picking up another email subscriber, another one, and you can start emailing them, and you can start sending out things that will turn them into, start developing the relationship on that side. So you can start turning these people into clients. And this is really a great way to do it. And it's a great way to pull things together. I love doing podcasts. It really fits my personality. Obviously, everyone's personality is different. And if this is not the right thing for you, and if you don't know, you don't enjoy doing it, if it's not something that appeals to you, then don't do it. Everyone is a little bit different. Everyone has a little bit different approach and strategy, but it's about just being able to take things and multi-purpose, be able to use it to create content, to be able to get things out there, to build an audience, to get people to know who you are. And so what you end up doing is you build a lot of credibility. You build a lot of people looking at you going, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about. And again, the podcast in and of itself becomes a much more intimate way of building relationship with people. It becomes very much about, how do I connect with them? How do I build relationship with them? All of these different things. And when you build that kind of a connection with someone, when you build things with them, it's a great way to build that kind of connection with people that you're not going to get in any other way. And again, if you're struggling, you're looking at this going, how do I do this? I don't know what to say. I wouldn't know what to comment on. Again, what I have found is, after a while, I'm on episode 300 and some at this point. What else do I have to say? Well, I just go on ChatGPT and I go, give me 10 topics, 10 potential podcast topics on the subject of fill in the blank. And for me, it's, building an online business for coaches, course creators, trainers, and speakers. Give me 10 potential topics, and Chat GPT will type out 10 topics right on the spot. And those 10 topics, I look at them and go, no, I don't really, that's not really what I'd want to talk about. Or no, that one actually, I couldn't talk about that. And then go, okay, create a 3-point outline for a 30-minute talk on this one. And then it'll crank it out for you. And I do this all the time. And I've even gotten to the point where on some of them, on ones that I don't know the subject very well, I go, I could actually learn about this. So let's actually create a podcast on one that I may not know as well, but it's going to force me to learn. It's going to force me to learn about it a little bit more, and it's going to force me to grow and even expand my skill base. So I've even gotten to the point where I've actually started challenging myself to go down the path to be able to push myself a little bit on topics that maybe I'm not as much of an expert on as I am on other things. And I learn and I grow. And it's really not as hard as you would think. It's really not. And podcasts don't have to be 30 minutes. If you want to do a 15-minute podcast, you can do a 15-minute or 10. They don't have to be long. But the point of it is that you share valuable content. And you share something that you would understand and that you know would be helpful. And again, Chat GPT has become my major ally in creating all these. I literally sit down and say, give me 10 topics for potential podcast episodes and on this topic, and it'll crank them out. And I say, I don't like those. Give me 10 more. Okay, here's 10 more. And then I pick the ones I want, tell it to give me an outline. I tweak the outline a little bit, and we're done. And I show up and I talk through the outline and I record it, and we have an episode. It's really, once you get going, you're amazed at how much you can keep going and how much you can keep doing and the value that you can keep bringing, because you're going to keep learning. You're going to keep growing. You're going to keep seeing things and having new experiences, and you're going to be able to share those and tie those in. And anyway, so that's really what I wanted to share with you on this episode. I love podcasts. Obviously, I've been doing 300 and some of them at this point. I think they're a very, very valuable tool for you to use to be able to grow your audience, to be able to connect with people, to have people get to know you, to be able to develop that relationship with you. And again, it's more than just a medium to get word out, because there's a lot of different ways to do that. It's about building relationships with people. It's about building connection with people, because they don't just read a 5-second meme and then hop off to the next one. They're listening to you for an extended period of time. And so whether you want to create your own or you want to be a guest on someone else's podcast, it can all work. It can all be just fine. And it all work. And it can exponentially increase your reach. It can exponentially increase your ability to become more confident and more competent as a speaker. I know that I've become better at speaking by simply doing this podcast. Very simple. I mean, it's one of those things where, how do you get good at something? Start doing it. How did you get good at riding a bike? You got on the bike and you started to ride it until you figured it out. Same thing with this. Same thing with doing a podcast. I've gotten a lot better at my public speaking simply because I'm speaking publicly. Right? That sounds kind of like duh, but it's true. It's 100% true. So I hope I, at least if nothing else, gave you something to think about, intrigued you maybe a little bit on what the possibilities of a podcast could do for you and your business. And if you'd like help developing this, I'd encourage you to check out designlaunchgrow.com. We'd love to work with you to help utilize this for your business, to grow your business, and to help you launch yourself out into the world more significantly. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a great day, and I will talk to you again very soon.